So it's about a little thing that we went to the club, actually a fetish club. It was like a vintage lingerie party. It was pretty interesting. It had a theme. When we originally got there, there was a line outside and everybody was in vintage lingerie. Well, not really vintage lingerie. Let's be real about this. I don't think women really realize what the hell vintage is. Some people were wearing Victoria's Secret, and to tell you the truth, I don't think she had a secret back then. In those vintage days. I doubt it. But anyway, a lot of hot girls. I was kind of explained to, because I haven't been to a fetish party in like 8 years, that fetish parties have changed. And when I walked into the club, you know, nothing's really changed. A fetish party is a fetish party is a fetish party. There's still people getting whipped. There's still people being gagged. There's still people pissing on each other, sex, oral, people tied up to torture machines and getting whipped and slashed and all this stuff. So, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that's changed is some of the people, because now you got a little bit younger crowd, because now it's like 18 and over. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I've seen people that I've seen like 8 years ago in the same freaking scene. So nothing much has changed. Now, my primary purpose of going there, obviously, is to search out the place. And also, I went with one of Project Miami housemates, Arcane. And he's like into the fetish scene pretty big, so he asked me to go with him. And we kind of walked around searching throughout the place. And I was kind of, helping him pass his sticking point while I was kind of observing and seeing, what my targets are and who I want to hit up later on in the night. So I kind of picked like 8 different sets or 9 different sets as we were walking around. And I pushed Arcane into a few sets and gave him the feedback on it. And I saw a nice little set sitting off in a table, right by the dance floor. So I kind of, cool walked over there and, I grabbed their candle off their table and lit my cigarette, So I grabbed the candle and, lit my cigarette with their candle and put it back and kind of smiled and nodded, like, thanks for letting me use your precious little candle. And I pretty much opened them with, the girl was wearing, this flowery dress, which kind of didn't match the whole scene we were in, because it's a fetish scene, so it's, leather and whips and vintage lingerie and stuff, and she was wearing, this flowery dress. So I like to use environmental openers, which are basically on the surrounding area, on the environment that you're in. And I opened her with, is this your first time at a fetish party? And she was like, yeah, it is. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, Actually, it's my first time, too. Well, not really. I've been to a party 8 years ago. And she's like, yeah, but in 8 years, so much has changed. Brings me back to the point that nothing has changed, just some of the faces. And that's pretty much it. We walked around, I all the sets that I picked out throughout the night, I opened and number closed, and Kiss closed a couple of them. And I was kind of hot because the club was congested. There were so many people there, and I wanted to get away from it. So they had this outside area, which I kind of walked out of the club into this outside area. They had a DJ out there and everything. It's like the designated smoking area, although you can smoke in the club. And I went out there and I picked up my pack of cigarettes and saw that I ran out of cigarettes. This is not a good thing to run out of cigarettes in the middle of a party, because now we're halfway through the party and I can't even smoke anymore. So I kind of looked around for some cutie that had cigarettes. I don't want to approach somebody just for a cigarette. I'd rather have a purpose for it. And if the girl looks pretty hot, then she's a possible target, then it's worth asking her for a cigarette. You want to make sure there's a point to it. So I kind of went up to her and I was like, hey, can I have a cigarette? And she looks at me and kind of, I see her eyes kind of scan my body and I'm like, this girl's checking me out. And she's like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a cigarette if you kiss me. So, most people would just jump right into that and start kissing her and stuff. But for me, I kind of look at the whole scenario. I'm like, all right, so she wants me to kiss her. You know, is it a compliance test or is it a shit test? I mean, exactly what is it? You know, so as I was thinking about it, I kind of paused and thought about it, and she kind of looked at me with this like sad, like puppy bowl look. You know, like, why are you not kissing me? So I figured it was a compliance test. You know, and now the question is, do I want to comply with kissing, you know, a hot little 18-year-old? So the answer to that was, of course. You know, she was wearing a hot little red Victoria's Secret one-piece suit that kind of showed everything. So I went and started making out with her, and you know, I kind of pulled back, grabbed my cigarette, and she lit it for me. And as I did that, she kind of like wondered why I pulled back, you know, because we were making out. And I just started talking to her, kind of ignoring that whole thing. I was completely unreactive to it. And I was like, yeah, so, you know, where are you from and what do you do and blah, 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 regular conversation. And, like, in the middle of the conversation, I got her number and invited her to one of the parties I throw at Project Miami. And pretty much, like, she gave me her number and stuff. And then, like, I tried to go in for another kiss. Big freaking mistake, you know? I was really being needy at this point. Like, you got one kiss, you know, save it. You know, you can pull her later, or, you know, you bounce with her, venue change, you know, or do a time bridge. So those are the things you want to do. If you go in for another kiss like I did, it's a mistake. You will seem needy, and you don't want to do it. Also, the reason for number closing in the middle of the whole thing is so that if you do something like that and you mess up, you have the number, you can make it up later. So anyway, I pretty much like ended the conversation. You know, I pulled back. I was unreactive to her not wanting to kiss me. She kind of said like, "Oh, I only wanted to kiss you once." That's not the case because she spent like a week and a half with me at Project Miami. But you know, the fact is, her ASD came up. I was seeming needy, and you know, ultimately I didn't get no results that particular night. Actually, the next 2 days I invited her over. She came over, and then from then on, she kind of stayed with me at Project Miami. So that's pretty much it. That's the fetish scene, man. It was a fun time. I got like 9 numbers, you know, a couple kiss closes, and I've had like 3 F closes since then. So all from this one party. So any scene is a good scene, you know. Just make sure you know what you're doing, and make sure you're up on the game.